A significant pattern change is developing across the United Kingdom. And if you have been watching the skies this past week, wondering when winter will finally arrive, the models are now pointing towards something rather interesting. Right now, conditions across the country could not be more different. Scotland, particularly the Highlands, has been dealing with the brunt of winter so far, temperatures dropping well below freezing in places. Meanwhile, across the southwest from Cornwall through Devon and into Somerset, it has been mild and damp, near double figures in some spots. The Midlands have experienced that familiar grey, murky weather. Nothing dramatic, just rather dull. And East Anglia, well, many of you have been waiting patiently for some proper winter weather. That wait may soon be over. Let me explain what is happening meteorologically. We currently have low pressure systems sitting to the west of the UK, with higher pressure established over continental Europe. This configuration has been trapping us in a southerly airflow, mild, moist Atlantic air streaming in. That is why we have seen so much cloud, rain, and drizzle recently. Hill fog in places, rather murky conditions overall. Through today, we have two distinct bands of rain moving through. One across Western Scotland and Northern Ireland, producing some heavier bursts from time to time. Another band stretching from northeast Scotland down through northern England and into central and southern parts of England and Wales. The rain will be on and off throughout the day, could be heavy in one or two spots, but in between these bands there are some brighter spells. Central and northern Scotland seeing the best of any sunshine today, perhaps some glimmers across western fringes of England and Wales. East Anglia down into Kent might catch some brighter skies as well. Temperatures today will reach around 10 to 11 degrees Celsius across southern parts of England and Wales. That is rather mild for mid-January. Further north, between 5 and 7 degrees across Scotland, Northern Ireland, and northern England. Winds coming in from the south, keeping things relatively benign for now. Through tonight and into tomorrow, these weather systems push north and eastward. Still some showery rain in places. Hill fog clearing during the early hours. Some drier weather moving into Northern Ireland, Wales, and the West Country ahead of the next system arriving on Tuesday. Tuesday brings another area of low pressure. Rain and stronger winds arriving across Northern Ireland, Western Wales, and Cornwall. Gales developing around exposed coasts by the afternoon. Elsewhere, a drier day with some sunny spells. Temperatures again reaching 10 or 11 degrees in the southeast, 7 or 8 degrees elsewhere. Now, here is where it gets interesting, and this is what many of you have been asking about. The potential for a significant cold spell later this month. The models have been showing some rather dramatic output over the past few days. Let me walk you through what is being indicated. I want to be clear from the outset that this is extended range forecasting. We are looking at 7 to 10 days ahead. Confidence is lower than for the immediate days ahead, but the signals are becoming more consistent. What the models are suggesting is a major pattern shift around the 23rd to the 25th of January. High pressure is forecast to build strongly across Scandinavia and potentially up towards Greenland. This would effectively block the normal west to east progression of Atlantic weather systems. When this happens, the jet stream gets displaced southwards. We have seen this pattern before, most memorably during the Beast from the East in February 2018. I am not saying we are looking at an exact repeat of that event, but the mechanics are similar. As this blocking establishes, the low-pressure systems that have been plaguing us from the Atlantic would start sliding southwards through France and Spain rather than crossing the UK. This backs the wind direction, initially from the south or southeast, then progressively into a proper easterly. And this is key. An easterly wind at this time of year draws air directly from the continent, from Scandinavia, from Russia. The latest GFS model run shows the minus 10 degrees Celsius air mass sitting just off the east coast by around the 25th to the 27th of January. If that air mass makes it across the North Sea, we would be looking at some genuinely cold weather. The GFS operational run has been particularly eye-catching. It shows temperatures potentially dropping to -8 or -10 Celsius in parts of the country, snow showers packing into eastern Scotland, the central belt of Scotland, northeast England, parts of the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast coasts would be exposed to these showers coming in off the North Sea, but it does not stop there. The models suggest an area of low pressure could then interact with this cold air around the 27th or 28th of January. When you get low pressure systems running into a pool of very cold air, you get snow, potentially significant snow, not just on high ground. The models are suggesting this could affect all areas. Now, I need to temper this with some important caveats. The models are what we call flippy at this range. The GFS has been more bullish on the cold than some other models. The ECMWF has been somewhat more conservative. The UK Met Office model also shows the pattern shift, but with varying intensity. The AI-based models have been all over the place, frankly. What gives me more confidence is the background signals. The Arctic Oscillation and the North Atlantic Oscillation are both trending negative. This is significant. Negative AO and NAO make blocking patterns more likely to form and persist. It creates the conditions for cold air to be displaced southwards towards the UK. When we see both indices going negative together, the chances of a genuine cold spell increase considerably. Looking at the ensemble forecasts, there is clear spread in the outcomes. Some members keep it relatively mild, but an increasing number are picking up on the colder solutions. The operational GFS is currently an outlier towards the cold end, but it is not completely alone. And outliers do sometimes verify. For practical purposes, here is what I would suggest. The next few days remain unsettled but mild. Rain at times. Nothing unusual for January. Through the middle of next week, conditions remain changeable, perhaps turning a touch colder, but nothing dramatic. From around Thursday, the 22nd, through to the weekend, watch for the wind direction. If it starts backing through south to southeast to east, that is the signal that the pattern is changing. Temperatures would drop accordingly, initially perhaps down to around freezing or just below overnight. If the full easterly establishes by the 24th or 25th, we could see daytime temperatures struggling to rise above 2 or 3 degrees Celsius. Overnight lows potentially dropping to -5 or below quite widely. Colder still in rural areas and over any lying snow. For those on higher ground in Scotland, northern England and Wales, snow becomes increasingly likely from the middle of next week. For lower levels, particularly in the east and southeast, the period from around the 25th through to the end of the month looks most promising for wintry conditions. Now, what should you do with this information? I am not advocating panic buying or dramatic preparations. We have seen these forecasts before and they have sometimes fizzled out. But if you are in a vulnerable situation, perhaps elderly, living alone, or with health conditions affected by cold, it would be sensible to make some preparations over the coming days while conditions are relatively benign. Check that your heating system is working properly. Make sure you have adequate supplies of any essential medications. Consider having some extra food in the cupboard. Basic precautions that make sense anyway during winter. If you drive regularly, ensure your vehicle is prepared. Antifreeze topped up, battery in good condition. Consider keeping a shovel, some old carpet or cardboard, and a blanket in the boot. These simple items can make a significant difference if you get stuck. For Scotland, you are likely to see the effects first. Snow on higher ground from the middle of next week seems increasingly likely. Lower levels could see wintry showers by the weekend. The central belt, Edinburgh, Glasgow, and surrounding areas should be prepared for disruption if the colder scenario verifies. Northern England, from the Pennines across to the northeast coast, you are in the firing line for any easterly driven snow showers. Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, and the northeast would be most exposed. The Midlands often miss out on the more dramatic winter weather, but if this pattern develops as the models suggest, you could see some snow too, possibly significant amounts if that low pressure system interacts with the cold air. East Anglia and the southeast are interesting. You often get missed by winter weather, but an easterly pattern puts you directly in the path of any showers coming off the North Sea. Dover, Kent, Essex, Suffolk, Norfolk, these coastal areas would be exposed, and if the low pressure brings a more organised area of snow, the south could see accumulations. Rare in recent years, but not unprecedented, the West Country and Wales are typically sheltered from easterly patterns. You would stay drier and potentially milder than the east. But not immune. Any significant low-pressure system could bring snow to higher ground across Wales and the southwest. I want to put this in historical context. Many of you remember the winters of the past, 1962 and 63, the Big Freeze, 1978 and 79, the Beast from the East in 2018. Those were exceptional events. What the models are showing is not quite at that level, but it would be the most significant cold spell for several years if it verifies. The honest assessment is this: there is increasing signal for a pattern change to bring cold, potentially wintry weather to parts of the UK from around the 23rd to the 29th of January. The models show support for this. The background signals are favourable, but at this range, anything can change. I will be monitoring the output closely and will update you as the picture becomes clearer over the coming days. For now, enjoy the relative mildness while it lasts. If you have outdoor tasks to complete, the early part of this week looks the best opportunity. By the weekend, the pattern may already be starting to shift. And if those models verify, you will want to be prepared rather than caught out. Keep watching the forecasts. The next few model runs will be crucial in determining whether this cold spell materializes and how intense it might become. The ingredients are there, whether they come together in the right way remains to be seen. Thank you for watching. If you found this useful, consider subscribing for updates as this situation develops. Stay safe and